To the Children's Book Talk. I'm glad you can join me today. My books today are Halloween stories or scary stories. Now, as many of you may know, Alvin Schwartz has a series of books, stories to tell in the dark, scary stories too, and everybody likes these books. But there are many books like that have several scary stories in it. So those are the books I'm kind of concentrating on today. Since we are coming up on Halloween, I thought this was the perfect time for this. Let me know if you're here. I'll give you a shout out. We are going to start with Campfire Ghost Stories, and this is volume 2, and this is by A.S. Scott. And so I've read a couple stories in here. There's several stories. I just picked 2 that I thought had interesting titles. Yeah, so there's like probably 20 stories in here. And they're nice and short, so you can read them real quick. So the first one that I read was 3 Simple Words. And this was about Angela, and she was a young girl, and she's very pretty. And as she's gotten older, she is a beautiful woman, and all she's ever wanted is for somebody to love her and somebody to care about her. And she is not only pretty, but she's very nice as well. But there's the thing with the curse, and it started when she was in 8th grade. There was a boy, Adrian, that really liked her a lot. And she's well liked by all of her classmates, but he really liked her a lot. He had a crush on her. He would stare at her all moon eyed during class. And so a couple of bullies saw that he was kind of crushing on her. And of course, like bullies do, they wrote a fake note that was from Angela, but it really wasn't, asking her to meet him in the girls' bathroom. Now, Adrian, he was kind of skeptical that this was really her, but he thought, she's so nice. And, maybe she just wants to get to know me. But he was worried about going in the girls' bathroom, that he would be teased, if these bullies would find him. But he did. He was crazy, he had a crazy crush on her. He went in, and of course, the bullies were in there, and they grabbed him, and they stuffed his head in the toilet, and they gave him a swirly. And so he went home that day, and his old Russian grandma lives with them, and she was mad at Angela because she thought that she had set him up for these bullies. So this old Russian grandma put a curse on Angela, and this is why she can get nobody to love her. And I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but you're going to have to check it out for yourself and see what the curse was and what happened. So the next story in the same book was Give Me a Head of Hair, and this is about Winslow. He was bald when he was 16 years old. He suffers from alopecia, and you can imagine he was teased. Just when he started finally growing hair in his chest, it all fell out. So he was teased all the time, even into adulthood. And he bought wigs, but they were cheap wigs. They looked terrible. And then he was teased because of that. He eventually turned into a bitter man. And he just felt like his whole life would have been totally different if he had hair. So he's reading the paper one day, and he sees an ad that says, "Do you suffer from alopecia? Rejoice, a cure has been found. Contact Ms. Fortinbras at 555-9873, and you will get hair." So you will find the cure. So he was wary of con artists and just randomly calling this number. But he did, and she gave him an address where he was supposed to go and meet her. And again, he was still pretty skeptical, but he went ahead anyway. He was a desperate man. He wanted some hair, he wanted to have a normal life. And when he got there, the room was dark, she was creepy, and she just asked him, "Are you ready to do whatever it takes to earn this remedy?" And he nervously said, "I am ready." And I'm not going to tell you what happened. But this was Give Me a Head with Hair. And this was Campfire Ghost Stories, Volume 2 by A.S. Scott. The next book is Dare to be Scared, 13 Stories to Chill and Thrill by Robert Sansucci. And I read a couple stories in here as well. The first one was Halloween Spirit, perfect for this time of year. This is about Keisha, and her mom is making her take her 5-year-old sister trick-or-treating. Keisha does not want to do this. She wants to go to the park, and this is where everybody's going to go, and they're going to get up to no good. And specifically, her mom says stay away from the park. You know, bad things happen there. She had planned to do this all along, but her mom is making her take her sister. Well, she is not happy, and she kind of drags her sister through the neighborhood, and she's kind of mean to her, and she's pulling her along, and she sees some of her friend, and they say, oh, you know, are you coming to the park? And she's like, oh, I got to do this, but I'm going to try to get away. And of course they're like, whatever, you know, you're not going to have any fun. We're going to be having all the fun. So shortly after that, she's like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to the park. I'm going to take Janelle as her sister. I'm going to take her with me, and I'm going to swear her to secrecy. Nope, Janelle wants to keep on trick-or-treating. So then she bribes her and says, I'll give you all of my candy. Nope, Janelle wants to keep on. So at this point, she's like, again, she's very mean to her sister, and her sister runs off crying. And Keisha's like, okay, I am going to be in super big trouble, so I might as well go ahead and go to the park anyway. So she gets there, and of course, everybody's having fun, up to no good. And her friend Cassie is lighting her grandma's voodoo candles. And Keisha says, you know, I don't believe in this. I don't want any part of this. You know, I think it's all hocus pocus. She didn't want any part of it. But her other friends were like, oh, come on, just sit down and do this. So as they do this, they light the candle and they're chanting and they're trying to summons her great aunt. And so Keisha stands up in the middle of this, you know, she breaks the circle and she tells her that, you know, this is fake, this is stupid, or is it? So I'm not going to tell you what happened. You're going to have to check this book out and find out for yourself what happened to poor Keisha on Halloween night. The other one I read in here was called The Caller, and this is about Lindsay. She was at her Aunt Margaret's funeral, and and she just wanted to get done with this funeral because she wants to hang out with her friends. And but her dad gets a phone call during the funeral service, which she's so relieved that it was not her. And he looks kind of confused, worried, mad. And so there's as they're leaving, he gets another call, and she can't figure out what's going on. Her she also goes because her aunt really liked her so much that she left a ring to her. And so she's like, okay, I should probably go to the funeral. So after they go back to the house, everybody leaves the house. She says, you know, can I go hang out with my friends? Her parents are like, sure, go, you know, you're being a pain anyway. So as she's leaving, her dad is scouring all over. He has lost his phone, and he thinks he's lost it at the cemetery. She doesn't care. You know, she grabs this ring. She wants to show it off to her friends. She fears she'll make them jealous, and it'll be a good reason why she's late to this party. And so she gets to the party, and her phone rings, and it's supposedly her Aunt Margaret telling her, oh, you know, you were such a good niece to me. Well, she thinks it's her brothers have found her dad's phone, and she thinks that her brothers are teasing her. So she goes on and she says all this stuff. Well, you know, Aunt Margaret, I never did like you. I only was nice to you because I wanted that ring and because my mom made me. And I'll just go away. And she hangs up the phone. And so she's kind of irritated that her brothers have done this. So the phone rings again. And Aunt Margaret says, okay, I'm going to come looking for you. I want that ring back. And again, she's just yelling at her brothers. So she calls her mom and she says, Mom, the boys have found Dad's phone. They're pranking me. And she said, well, that's impossible because the boys have been sitting here right with me watching a movie and your dad is still looking for his phone. Well, right then the doorbell rings at her friend's house and she starts to freak out. She's like, don't answer the door. You know, she's thinking maybe this is my Aunt Margaret. And I'm going to leave it there to see, does she come back? Does she get her ring back? Does she finally get to tell her niece what she thinks about her? This is Dare to be Scared, 13 Stories to Chill and Thrill by Robert Sansucci. Okay, the next one even has a scary cover. This is Michael Dahl's Really Scary Stories, The Stranger on the Stairs, and Other Scary Tales by Michael Dahl. This is like a real skinny one. So I only did one story out of here. And there's not even really, well, in the story that I read, there wasn't any creepy pictures, but there is in other stories there. And this is called Closer and Closer. And this is about Maddie. And she rides the bus to school every day. And she's on the bus for quite a while before there's any of her classmates on the bus. So she takes the time to kind of look all around her town, and she has certain areas that she really likes. Well, there's this empty lot that she always, likes all the flowers that are there, and she always imagines that, this is her lot. And so this day, when they drove by, she sees that there's a black bag that looks kind of lumpy towards the rear of the lot. And so she goes to school and she keeps thinking about this bag. Who would just throw garbage in this lot? Her lot that she felt like she was the only one that ever cared about. So she makes sure that she looks on her way home and the bag has moved. It's a little bit closer to the road. And she thinks, well, that's weird. So the next day she goes to school and the bag has moved even closer. So now finally, she comes home from school that next day and the bag is super close to the road. And she keeps looking at it and she's like, it looks lumpy, like there's something in there. So the next day, she comes home from school and the bag is gone. And she's like, oh, finally, somebody, picked up this garbage from the lot. So she gets off the bus, and as she steps off the bus and she starts to walk, the bag is right there in the drain gutter. And I'm not going to tell you the rest. So you're going to have to check it out to see. This is Michael Dahl's Really Scary Stories, The Stranger on the Stairs, and Other Scary Tales by Michael Dahl. Okay, so the last one. This is a big, thick one, and the stories were much longer, and I read 2 out of these. And this is called Don't Turn Out the Lights, and this is edited by Jonathan Mayberry, because these are stories that other people have read or written, so he's just compiled them into this book. So the first one I read was called The Cries of the Cat. So Martin lives with his parents and his grandma's cat. Well, one day his parents tell him that they have to send grandma away because she has become a danger to herself and others. And Martin says, okay, grandma's been acting really odd lately. I understand. But as they were taking grandma to the car, her cat ran out. Well, now he's really worried about this cat. And the parents are like, don't worry, the cat will be fine. And he keeps thinking, but he's such a little cat in this big world. And his parents are like, they're fine. Cats are, he'll manage on his own. But he becomes obsessed. Before school, after school, he's looking. While he's at school, he's looking. He just can't stop. Finally, his parents are like, 2 weeks have gone by. The cat's not coming home. You need to get past it. It's fine. He's out there. He's living his best life. Don't worry about the cat. So, and they were kind of mean about it. And so that very night, they have to leave the house for something, and he hears a cat meowing. So he's like, oh my gosh, finally. He runs all around outside. He still hears the meowing, but he can't find the cat. He looks in the bushes. He looks in the garage. He looks everywhere. It's dark. He has to go inside. His parents come home and he asks, do you hear that? They don't hear anything. So the next day, it's a weekend. His parents leave again. And he hears the meowing again. And all of a sudden, he's like, wait, it's coming from inside the house. So he starts running all over the house. He's in the attic, in the closet, under the beds, nothing. He finally is determined, I think it might be in the wall. and he follows the noise to the stairs, to the basement. He had not checked there yet, and he opened the door. And I'm not going to tell you what happened. I'm just going to say it kind of gave me chills. And I'm also, there's some other books that I had a whole stack that I was going through, and some of them were very scary, and I did not share them here because they were very scary. Like, I didn't want to go any further. Okay, so the next one, the final one in this book, was called Lint Trap. And I chose this because I thought, what could be scary about a lint trap? Well, it can be. So this is about Jasper, and he lives in a new house. He lived in an apartment before, and there was people coming and going, and all the great smells in the halls from all his neighbors cooking. This is what he knew. This is what made him comfortable. Now they have moved to a big, scary, creaky house on an acre of land with no neighbors. So this is already out of his comfort zone. He wants no part of this. So now his mom is super excited because she has a washer and dryer. And when they lived in the apartment, she would have to haul the laundry up and down the stairs with a pocket full of quarters to do their laundry. Now she can just go downstairs and do her laundry. Well, Jasper is bored because the TV isn't hooked up yet. They don't have, the internet isn't going. He just really has nothing to do, and not everything's unpacked. His parents say, stay out of the basement. We haven't cleaned it all yet. We don't want you to step on a board and get a nail in your foot, so stay away from the basement. Well, of course, they leave, and he hears a noise in the basement. He hears voices and singing. And he's thinking, maybe there is a radio down there because the past owner has left a lot of stuff in the house. And so he's thinking, maybe it's a radio or a TV or something down there. I'm going down there. So, of course, at the top of the stairs, he goes to turn the light on. The light doesn't come on. Okay, don't we all know? Don't go down there. But Jasper, he doesn't care. He hears the voices. He hears the singing. He goes down there and he hears voices. He hears laughter, and it sounds like a kid. And he's looking all around the basement. He can't find anything. And all of a sudden, he tracks it down, and it's coming from the dryer. He can't believe it. He looks through, it's like a glass door, and he looks through the door, and there's a little girl. Okay, I forgot to tell you. They had left stuff there, and there was an article, and his dad had started to read this article about the house that they had bought, and he kind of stopped, and he kind of gave his wife an odd look, and they didn't discuss this article anymore, but he had been reading it out loud. And so Jasper thought that was weird too, and he was kind of anxious to read this article. Okay, so now here we are. So there's this little girl in the dryer, and she's like, oh, I'm so glad that you can hear me. You want to be my friend. And he's like, why are you in the dryer? And she's like, well, this is, are you stuck? He says, let me go get my dad. They just got home. And she goes, oh, no, I'm not stuck. I want to stay here, silly. This is a great place to be. And she says, we all love it here. And he's like, we? And sure enough, he hears all kinds of other voices. They're singing and talking. He even hears a dog barking. And he's like, well, could I join you in there? And she says, oh, we would love for you to come and visit. And I'm going to leave it there. FYI, stay away from the lint trap in the dryer. So this was also a good story, and there was many more in this book. It's a big, thick one. So this is Don't Turn Out the Lights, and this is edited by Jonathan Mayberry. And like I said, we have many more of these big books of scary stories, and some of them were very scary. Hello, Donna. Thank you for joining me. And thank you guys for joining me. And everybody have a happy Halloween, and I will see you next Friday. Bye.